What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Daily Grind. I am once again your temporary co-host, Rusty Buckets of the 2 Buck Sports Show, here with my guy, hopefully to be the voice of reason this morning, one DG, Daniel Greer. What's up, DG? How are you, man?
I am doing great. It's an early morning, a late night last night, but I might not be your voice of reason today. I might be just swinging that petty machete and pissed off whatever we might be this morning because I'm still mad about last night. It's been a long time. I've slept. It doesn't matter. I'm still pissed off.
Yeah, man, listening to the broadcast last night, Brevin was pissed. He got on a tirade late in the game just about how embarrassing it was in the third quarter, only to revisit it because I am a glutton for punishment and watch till the bitter end for him to revisit it in the final minute, how he got even more embarrassed. And I saw on the timeline last night that, when Brevin's saying that he was embarrassed, it's like my mama saying she was disappointed in me growing up. Like it hit on a deep level last night. And so the Memphis Grizzlies, a.k.a. the Gummy Bears, because we have no teeth, got our just butt handed to us last night with a 37-point loss to the New York Knicks in what was a game that was celebrated by the NBA. They were championing the 2 seed in the West versus the 2 seed in the East when you had Houston and Cleveland square off, which actually was a good basketball game. Then you had the 3 seeds, the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks, and we had a colossal flop. So give me your high-level first thoughts on the Gummy Bears last night.
Yeah, they're going to go as their leader goes. And I said this on the post-game show last night. They're going as their leader goes almost every game. And sometimes it's, he doesn't look good and they still play good. Sometimes he looks good and they kind of still play good. But when he doesn't show up and doesn't look like he's interested, unless Jaren is able to take over a game, the Grizzlies aren't winning that night. Like you can look at it almost on paper and see the off nights that Ja's having, and you can look at his attitude and you know how the entire game's going to go. Like when he's flopping and flailing and looking like he needs a call, that isn't the Ja we used to know. Like there's probably a song about that, but I will think that going forward, if he doesn't have the fire, I think this season is just going to be what could have been.
Yeah, I could agree more. Early on, we got kind of behind the 8 ball to start the game, but we battled in the first quarter. And by we, I mean Jaren, I mean Gigi, I mean Santi. Like there are guys that were battling in the first quarter, and we were down 13, and we came all the way back. I think we were down maybe like 6 heading into the second quarter. And about 3 minutes into the second quarter, I told Maggie, who I was watching the game with last night, I just said, we're not going to win this game. This is one of those games you can absolutely tell. And I hate that because it just shows we're a very immature basketball team. We're a good basketball team, but the gap, like I said on Twitter last night, the gap from us being good to getting to where we are great, I'm afraid is going the opposite direction. I don't know that we're getting closer to being a great basketball team because of what you talked about. Listen, I'm not here to bash on the guy. Like Ja Morant does not get superstar calls. But what's frustrating is he still goes out and hunts them. And then when he doesn't get them, he acts like an impetulant child, throwing a tantrum, flailing his arms, shrugging his shoulders, and moping down the court. Meanwhile, Mikal Bridges is catching runouts and dunking all over us last night for most of his points. It was an absolute embarrassment on all accounts. I came in here, I was going to talk about substitutions, and we made a ton of them. We played 13 guys in the first quarter and a half to Thibodeau playing only 8. And that was a contrast of style. So I kind of want to get your take on that. We had Taylor Jenkins, who plays literally everybody. Feels like he's pulling people out of the crowd to put in a rotation. And then you got Tibbs, who runs his starters for 90% of the game. Like, what was your thoughts on the contrasting styles last night?
Yes, obviously, I'm on record and saying I hate the offense. I hate more than 10 guys. I really don't even like 10 guys. I get 10 guys to a regular season game. Makes complete sense. Some games you go away from it. Some games you do play the 10th guy, but maybe you go down to like an 8-minute mark, right? And so like you see what he has in the first half, and it doesn't have it, you go away from him in the second half. I'm okay with that. I am never going to be okay with 10, 11, 12 guys. Never, ever will I ever. It is a contrast of styles, but we also see on the other side, it might get you a good regular season number and the Knicks that I'm talking about. and it might allow you to look better and honestly look like you have a chance because you're this, great team that plays as players and all of this. But then when you get to the playoffs, we've seen them get injured over and over and over again. So I'm not going to give in and say, hey, that's the right way. I don't think that's the right way either. And I think we're going to see that play out in front of our eyes again, as we saw last year. Like Brunson and Josh Hart could not get through the playoffs. Like it was impossible. The only reason that team is any good is Karl-Anthony Towns, who is the absolute biggest diva other than Draymond Green and has the number 2 most punchable face right behind Draymond Green and the entire association. So I get the contrasting styles. I think we're somewhere in the middle. And I think both coaches are trying to go their way of doing it. And I think they're both going to get burned.
I couldn't agree more. I think the promised land is somewhere in the middle. But one thing I did appreciate about Tibbs last night that I never really have seen Taylor Jenkins do is when there was blood in the water in that second quarter, he kept his foot on the gas and he just hammered down and just kept his starters out there while Taylor Jenkins is over there going, you know what this game needs? Jake LaRavia minutes in the second quarter. And he kept his starters in. And it was once again another night, DG, where an relatively unknown player had a big game against us. And last night it was Precious Achiuwa, Memphis Tigers lore. He came in the game averaging just under 5 points a game, and he tripled that last night. Yep. And it feels like this, I don't know if it's the offense gassing us on the defensive end, if we're just not doing what we're supposed to be doing, but it feels like, it was Hawkins with the Pelicans. It's been Keontae George before. Like it's different guys every night that just step up and have big games against us. And I don't know if that's a product of our system getting lost or if it's just bad luck.
Well, listen, I'm going to completely disagree. And I agree with the fact that it is some unknown player beating you. But isn't that what you'd rather go down and say, hey, listen, we're going to take away your best players, your guys that are making 30, 40, 50, whatever it might be, $1 million. We're going to put Jalen Wells on them and we're going to just treat them like a dog. And if they, for some reason, are able to kick out to somebody who doesn't do this on a consistent basis, he's able to step up, you tip your cap. Exactly what everybody did to Tony Allen back in the day. Just Tony Allen could never make them pay. And so I disagree that there was blood in the water for Tibbs. Bro, he was playing his starters if there was just water in the water. Like it doesn't matter what's in the water with Tibbs, he's playing his starters. So I do agree on that because I do want Taylor Jenkins to see the blood in the water and go for it and just completely just snap somebody's neck. Fortunately, we're seeing that happen without really him even having to make much changes just because our bench is so good and our pace is so much. It's overwhelming, but it's overwhelming to bad teams. So I disagree because I think Tibbs is the way he is, and I think Jenkins is the way he is. And we're going to have to either live with that and see the results and see. And at a later date, we'll be able to actually talk about and see what's going on.
Yeah, again, like I'm not putting up Tibbs on just some banner, like put him on a pedestal because, like, listen, like he's never won a title for a reason. When you run Jimmy Butler and Josh Hart and these guys into the ground and they can't play in the playoffs, it doesn't work out well for you. And so that's not the standard that I'm going for. But what I would like to see is us to go collect a professional win against a good basketball team. And don't get me wrong, like we've played well against the Eastern Conference top teams. We beat Boston. It's a great win. We beat Orlando in the home opener before they really found their stride. We beat Milwaukee when they were still trying to find their identity. And now we've played the Knicks and we got embarrassed. We beat Indiana. We've beaten some decent upper teams. But we're now 12-11 against teams with a 500 record or better. Yep. And most of our wins and most of the time we're our good bench. And last night our bench carried us a bit last night because our starters outside of Jaren really didn't have it. And Jaren wasn't great, but he still finished with 21 points. But our starters just didn't have it last night. We had one player, real quick sidebar, with a positive plus minus. You know who that was? One player.
Let's see. Is it Gigi?
Gigi with a +5 last night. Now, he didn't have a great game. He had 8 points, 1 board, 1 assist. He was out of position a lot, but it felt like he was the only one playing with an energy last night that was palpable for the boys wearing red. He was all over the court. Yeah, he got a couple goofy fouls where he ran into people. But Gigi, I felt like was the only one given any kind of effort and energy last night against a great New York Knicks team. Did you see anything different?
Yeah, listen, I think he's just a product of a circumstance. Listen, I'm not going to take anything away from him, but numbers lie sometimes. Like I think GG very much looks rusty, and whether he was giving energy or not, that I want to see that more than anything. But yes, I think it's a product of just kind of the situation and just it working out the way it did with maybe his lineups. But in all honesty, if you get a plus minus, it's a plus and the plus minus. You're doing something right. You're contributing to winning, and so I do agree with that. I just want people to understand, like when you have a guy like Jake LaRavia, that's a plus minus, and everybody says, well, but he's not really doing anything to winning. We have to keep the same conversations, at bar. But I want to go in on somebody real quick. I'm going to spin it because I don't think we want to keep talking about GG. I want to talk about Ja Morant. I know we briefly hit on him, but Wayno said something earlier that I want to come back to. And it was, I think it's time the kids grow up. Management needs to make a move, coach or player, that's not showing up has consequences. This is what I want this organization to be, is you stand on something and say, listen, if you're not going to act like an adult, we might need an adult in the room. So I'm going to challenge literally two guys. It's Taylor Jenkins, the coach. Can you be the adult in the room? And Ja Morant. Can he be the adult in the room? Ja Morant is the de facto leader of this team. He's the leader of the entire organization. He might be the leader of the entire association. Like Ja Morant could be the highest of highs, but he just allows himself to be the middle of everything. And I know a long time ago, I made the stupid tweet about Ja doesn't think he has a fire in his eye anymore. Maybe I was right. And that, in all honesty, I think that the dude just allows people to influence him and influence his mood and his decisions. And that can't be. If you're a leader, you're going to run through the wall no matter what, whether people are with you or not. And if they aren't with you, somebody will latch on eventually. But right now, nobody's latching on because he's the one in the back screaming at everybody and trying to be cool. Ja has to be the guy who steps up. If Ja doesn't step up, this team is forever going to be a joke. And if they want to be the grit and grind and actually make a statement and be better than that, they have to show it on the court. They got to show it in leadership.
Yeah, man, I couldn't have said it better. Just phenomenal points. Ja watches on Twitter, so he may very well see this. And if that's the case, like we're not picking on you. We want you to be better because you can do it. We've seen it. Last night, again, I was watching with Maggie, and she's really just coming into the Grizzlies fandom this year. She's kind of been a fringe fan. But since she and I got together, she's been more involved. And she said, y'all talk about like Ja being this guy, like he could go just turn over and take over a game. She's like, I really haven't seen that since I've been a Grizzlies fan. And she's right. Like last year, he was out of the picture because he was hurt. You have to go back 2 years before you get Alpha Ja, where he could go back, you find him grittying on the court, dancing, having fun, getting buckets, getting to the rim. This year, DG, it feels like this offense is the culprit because he can't do Ja things. He's not getting the pick and rolls that he used to. He's not able to be free. And that seems to be weighing on him. And I don't know that he has the mental toughness to overcome the adversity that he's faced this year. I think you're exactly right.
Let me ask you a question. In your line of duty and your job, in your life, okay? Things aren't going the way they're supposed to be going by. Maybe a boss puts something into play in the way we're supposed to be doing something. Do you just go about it and continuously just do the same thing and know it's not working? You were kind of told to do that, but it's not really working. Or do you like try to figure out if you can tinker with it just in the smallest to see if something can change and flip? And then once you can get something to kind of go the right way, then you lean into it more and you lean into it more because you are a leader of the team and you're a leader of other people. And so what I want to see is Ja say, you know what? I'm going to make some changes on my own. We're going to run some action the way I want to run it. And it might be little tinkering, you know what? And the coach might say, that's exactly what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to think outside the box. I want you to make this offense your own, but you just haven't taken the brass ring. You haven't grabbed the ring to do it just yet. And so I'm not saying that that's the right way that I would want my coach to act, but I want somebody to step up and say, you know what, we're going to make some changes because when things get tough and we're going against these good teams, it seems like our offense just stalls and it's not the same kind of offense. So maybe we need to tinker it ourselves and on the fly make some changes. So if we want to have the adults, we want to have the leaders, we want to have the alpha Ja, I think he just needs to say, you know what, I'm going to make some changes and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree, man, because Like the offense is a guide and it gets you in position to make plays, but you are the professional athlete. You are the guy, that dog on the court. And I don't see that fire. I don't see that willingness to say, you know what, this is fine, but I'm going to make it better. Here's what we're going to do to get the bucket when we need it because the offense is sluggish or we're not in position or players aren't playing how we need to play. I'm going to be the one to make that change. Taylor Jenkins is not doing it. Ja Morant is not doing it. We don't have that guy that's stepping up. You know, you said it perfectly. Like, we need an adult in the room. We need somebody to take this team by the collar of the shirt and say, we're going forward. Like, this is not working. We've got to do something different. And Wayno's point here is great. And we're going to talk about Jaren here more in just a few minutes. I've seen a ton of growth from Jaren, just like looking at some of the pictures when he was younger and thinking back to his injuries and foul trouble and stuff that he still has from time to time with the foul trouble. But his maturation has been otherworldly. And we've seen Ja for 6 seasons now. And we know what Ja is. Ja is a very emotional player. And that sometimes plays really well because that's where you get call 12 and that's where you get the gritty at half court. And that's where you get, you know, we're fine in the West and all the things that are great about Ja Morant. But then you get nights like last night, and it feels like we're getting more of nights like last night than we are the fun Ja, emotional Ja, where he gets his feelings hurt early because he's not getting the calls. And instead of, like you were saying earlier, being that alpha that bows his neck and makes the play, we're down there flopping and flailing and you know, spinning around trying to show up the referee. And I cannot think of a single time where showing up a ref gets you calls.
Very much so. And that's kind of where Ja is. Ja's in the mindset of it's not fair. And you're screaming from the mountaintops like, my God, this isn't fair. Like, you know, how you're treating me is not good. But it has to be him that makes the change and say, you know what, in spite of you, I'm going to continue to develop and I'm going to continue my path of excellence in a sense. And so I think Ja has to change his method of thinking of why me and just say in spite of you. And once he can be in spite of the refs, in spite of the offense, in spite of whatever might be ailing him, maybe in his personal life, I don't know, because they are humans in the day, and we've all gone through stuff. And so if it's personal, if it's professional, whatever it might be, Ja has to get through that. But being able to lean on a guy like Jaren and now getting the accolades that he's getting, Jaren is very much so becoming a leader. I don't know if he can ever take over the leadership, but his play on the court has been by far the best we've ever seen. I've called him a low IQ basketball player in the past. And now, honestly, I think he's finally matured. And I think he's grown out of that. And he's very much deservingly getting awards and getting recognition to where I think he is going to be, you know, an all-star this year.
Yeah. Again, we'll talk about Jaren here in just a minute because I definitely got thoughts on that. Last thing I want to say about the game last night, about the Grizzlies at large, and we've talked about it far too much, is, you know, you've been on this. We're great against subpar teams because it's offense. But Draymond Green said it's a gimmicky offense that's going to beat teams, but the good teams are going to figure it out. We've seen the good teams figure it out. We've got another one coming up on Thursday where we play the same Houston Rockets who have punked us 3 times this year, who just beat the 2 seed in the East, the Cavaliers, last night. DG, is there any hope, do you think, that we're going to be able to turn around and get a win against Houston Thursday night?
So they actually didn't beat they beat back-to-back the Cavs, and then they just took out the Boston Celtics, and now they play again. They play against the Atlanta Hawks tonight, and then they have a day off, and they'll be in Memphis. And so we're catching them in the third game in 4 nights, which is a bonus for us. I think that the Rockets, pardon my French, belt to ass on Thursday night because we match up terribly against them. Everybody thinks that Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies at home will stand on something. I disagree. I think this team is a fraud, and I will say it because I don't think they have the leadership. And as you call them, the gummy bears, which is phenomenal. Not heard that because they have no teeth, and I don't see the teeth. I don't see the Steven Adams. I don't see a Dylan Brooks. I don't see honestly, realistically, a Mike Conley who can be a true leader, and the Zebo and the Mark and the Tony, the guys who will run through a wall and put you in your place. Because I know Zach Edey, hey, is he hurting you? Is he bothering you? Somebody needs to put somebody else on their tail to actually make a point and say, hey, this team, we're not soft. Until somebody does that, I think we're going to be soft for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna steal a line from the great Gary Parrish on his show yesterday. I'm an avid listener to GP, and he said when Eubanks ran into Zach Edey, he started backing up like he had that hoe in him. And we played like we had that hoe in us last night. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So moving right along, Jaren Jackson Jr. is getting the awards he deserves. He is putting together an incredible resume this season, going into a summer where he's going to get paid. He's got an opportunity to get a supermax in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 million. And it's looking like he's heading towards that all NBA designation that will be needed to progress his contract into that upper tier of elite NBA players after being named for the first time in his career as a Western Conference Player of the Week. In a Western Conference where Anthony Davis has been playing really well, which sidebar last night for the Lakers, he had 21 and 11 in the first freaking quarter. Like, what a stat line. But Jaren got the Western Conference Player of the Week. Scotty Barnes was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week, and I think it was well-deserved. Jaren has been on an absolute tear lately on both ends of the floor. You talked about he can't be, don't know if he's going to be that leader. He is a very soft-spoken. He is a very quiet leader. So, no, I don't think he's going to be the guy that's picking up collars and slamming lockers. But I think he's the guy that is our bucket. In a vacuum, Ja Morant is our best player, and it's not close. He is the most athletic, dynamic superstar we may have ever seen or have seen in the NBA. But Jaren Jackson Jr. on the court has been our best player for the last 2 years, and I stand by that. I said that a couple weeks ago. I'm not changing my tune now. Jaren is the best basketball player on this Memphis Grizzlies team.
I'd say the last 2 years for sure. Before that, it was by far Ja, and and we've said that Ja is the de facto leader on this team. But Jaren can be very much like the Mike Conley. Jaren can be the quiet leadership. I'm going to show up consistently and do my job. But you also have somebody else that's coming in and, like a Zach Randolph and Ja Morant, and you're the guy who's, talking to people and you're letting them know what's up, what kind of team we really are, because you do have the yang to your yin. And so Ja Morant and Jaren are very much tied together. I don't see them ever leaving. Eventually, yes, as they age, but as they're in their prime, they're going to get paid. Jaren very much deserving. What Wayno was saying, the silver lining of last year was very much important that Jaren was actually able to find himself and find his creativity, because I think that's really what improved last year. We did get the benefit of finding out what we do have in Gigi and Vince Williams, but Jaren stepping up, and there's not enough good things to say about the human. And the reason I say that is because I have two little girls. The human, okay, is what I enjoy. I enjoy the human of Desmond Bane. Ja Morant, I still enjoy the human, but I still struggle with the on-court stuff. So the guys that we have on this team, led by leadership of the franchise, the coaching staff, all good humans. And so anything that we say on this show or any other show in Bluff City Media, it's not about the human. We love the humans. We don't love the players right now. And that's what we need to see people step up. But Jaren, excellent guy, showing excellence in his game on the court. And I hope he continues that this season and far beyond.
Agreed. Great humanitarian. He was the one that gave the pregame speech before the MLK Day because he is such a humanitarian and super involved in the civil rights movement and just like a great ambassador for our franchise. And then in the offseason, all you see is him and Brandon Clark and Turks and Caicos or posted up on their cars. Like they keep their nose clean. They're great guys. And Jaren has got a budding fashion career, apparently. But over the last week, he got to the Memphis Grizzlies up to last night. This does not include last night, obviously. It's a 4-0 record where he averaged 25.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, and 1.5 blocks in 31.2 minutes. We were the only team to go 4-0 in that week span, and Jaren was a big reason because of that. And I want to highlight one thing, and this has been a big maturation for him over the last couple of years, is rebounding. He has doubled this season his career rebounding average. Coming into the season, he was averaging just above 3.3 rebounds per game. He's now averaging a little over 6. And so Jaren has really started to embrace that role as the center, because we're going to get a lot of lineups where we have him and BC on the court where Brandon's a 5, but there's going to be some where you got Gigi, Santi, and Jaren at the 5. And so seeing him step up and rebound better this year has been a nice little silver lining once again. But Jaren's game has evolved so much from that unathletic, flailing kid his first couple of years where we were all super frustrated with the product that we had, just to watch him. And I think like that trial by fire last year was a huge part of it, because he didn't have Ja that could bail him out. He didn't have that superstar. He had to be the guy on the court. and it's translating this year to where he's a bucket. There's not many 7-footers that have a bag like Jaren has with what he can do at the elbow, at the free throw line, and in the low post. And it's unbelievable that he's on our team, that we get to watch him grow and play like this. And I'm like you, man. I wish good health. I wish good luck. And I hope that we get to see this throughout the rest of this year into a deep playoff run and for many years to come in Memphis, Tennessee for Jaren.
Yep. And he's averaging, which it's hard to do this. On a bad team last year, he averaged these numbers. Well, coming now into the season, you're thinking Ja's back, Bane's back, everybody else is back. And Jaren is truly averaging the exact same numbers, if not a little bit better. He had 5.5 rebounds last season and 6.2 this year, 22.5 points last year, 22.8 this year. Like, he's still doing the same thing, and he's taking one less shot on average over everybody else. And so, yes, he is a true unicorn, Wayno, and everybody, I think, sees that in Memphis now and appreciates that now. But the fact that you can, on a bad team, average these numbers that we loved and lauded and thought, if we can get this Jaren or any version close to this Jaren, we're getting this Jaren and a better one than last year. And so it's hard to do that. People don't understand. It's very hard to do that, especially when you have guys that come back and it was your team last year. It's not really your team, but it's becoming his team more and more.
Absolutely. And late games this year, we have called on 13 more often than not in the fourth quarter, which has been fun to watch and fun to see. And so, that's enough Grizzlies talk for today. We're going to talk about what we're watching. We're going to end this show on a very positive, but it's a reminder, like, we've got a big game Thursday night, and I'm not out on this team by any means. It was doom and gloom on the timeline last night. I was frustrated because we're a good team. We have glimpses of greatness that we could get to, but we have to dig deep. And by we, I mean the collective 15 that are on that bench have to dig deep and say, you know what? This is our time. Like, we have to take this season by the horns or it's going to get away from us. We're playing a Rockets team Thursday night that's very good. Their resume include wins at Boston, Cleveland twice, Oklahoma City at home, beat Dallas twice, beat the Clippers 3 times, beat the Grizzlies 3 times. This is a gut check time. This is a time where this season could go one of two ways. And I think if we come out and if it's even a competitive loss, it's going to be a different story for the Grizzlies. But we have to show up against a team that wants to play physical, that's tougher than us, and that has had our number this year, because Houston's going to show up with that chip on their shoulder. They play with a swagger and an edge that we haven't this year. So what better night to get it back than Thursday nights against the Rockets? You got a couple nights to recover from New York. Let's go get a dub on Thursday night.
Yeah, let's get it. I'm excited. I hope they show up. And I'm nervous about that, but I hope they show up. But listen, either way, I'm excited. Thursday night's going to be a great game.
It's going to be a great game. And it's I kind of hate to say this out loud because it also makes me super nervous, but it is a nationally televised game where we play the Rockets on TNT. It's going to be something. So show up on national TV. Let's go get a dub. Beat Dillon Brooks, who had a monster game from 3 last night. Like, just to add insult to injury, Dillon Brooks had like 36 points last night or something ridiculous. So let's go find a way to get a dub. That's enough Grizzlies talk, because I'm going to get upset again if we talk about it more. But on Tuesdays around here, Tubing Tuesdays, we talk about what we're watching other than basketball and other than sports, because there are other things besides basketball, though it hasn't been felt that way because we haven't been playing very great lately. But we're here to give you some things to watch as a palate cleanser from the Memphis Grizzlies games. DG, you got anything that's budding that you're watching that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I just finished Night Agent Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as good as Season 1, but I enjoy it because I like the two main characters, and then the surrounding, supporting characters. They're very good. But overall, it's on Netflix, and so it's Night Agent. Night Agent 1 was a lot better than season 2, but I think that Season 2, if you enjoyed 1, you'll enjoy 2. But the main thing I'm looking forward to is this Thursday. The Recruit comes out, very much the same thing, and so I'll make sure I get that watch. But it's Royal Rumble season. Royal Rumble for WWE is this Saturday or Sunday. I don't even know. But I'll be watching it. I enjoy it. It should be a good time because I'm still a nerd, but I'll watch the big events somehow, some way. And Royal Rumble is always a fun one.
I love that, man. I grew up watching wrestling and watching all that, so that speaks to my childhood and the nostalgia there. For me, I said I was going to do it, and I did this weekend. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but American Primeval on Netflix is headlined by Taylor Kitsch of Friday Night Lights fan famous, I guess. He was also in Lone Survivor. He played Michael Murphy. He plays a lone trapper named Isaac that picks up this wandering mother and son. It's a really gritty, dark, kind of violent spin on Western expansion. And it's nerdy for me that likes history, but it's also very dramatic and a good story to follow along. So check out American Primeval. It's 6 episodes. It's funny, they're not going to do a second season. The producers have already said, because it was kind of coming out during the writer's strike when they were filming and writing it. And the boy, his name is Devin, and you can tell he kind of grows up awful quick for the timeline that they have. But it's because the filming got delayed because of the writer's strike. But it was very, very entertaining. 6 episodes, they're roughly 45, 50 minutes apiece. So it's not a huge investment, but well worth watching. Check out American Primeval. I enjoyed it a lot.
See, I can't do the old movies. I can't. Like, if it's black and white, I'm out already. Like, we're not doing that. But the old movies, the old Western kind of like even Yellowstone, I was a little, I struggle with that because it's so long usually in plotting. And I'm not saying this is, but usually that's how those kind of shows or movies are. And it takes it. Listen, I'll fall asleep in a heartbeat if we're doing this. Like, and so catch me at the wrong time, I'm probably going to fall asleep. But Greer says Saturday for the Rumble. And then King Meeks is watching Bookie and Harley Quinn. Bookie is on Max. I guess they're both on Max, but Bookie, I'm interested to get into. I'm afraid to watch it with my wife because obviously I'm involved in the sports betting world. Shout out to Coach and Company, who I'm a part of now. Going forward, as of yesterday, we had our first show. It's on at 9 a.m. Central. But Bookie, I'm interested in watching that. I just don't know if I want to watch my wife, so she like thinks of me weird, maybe because I don't know what the show is about. I don't want her thinking I'm a sleazeball or something, because sometimes the bookies kind of get that way. So, but anyway, I'm interested in watching that King Meeks.
Yeah, Bookie kind of has a connotation to it that is not Daniel Greer, but that's going to be our show for today. DG, thanks for joining us here. You can catch him on the Grizz 901 post-game shows every weeknight. It was a great palate cleanse last night to listen to. He'll be back Thursday night after the Houston Rockets game. Check out his show at 9 o'clock. It's what's the name of it again? Coach and Company?
Coach and Company, yep.
Coach and Company. Check him out. Find him on Twitter. Give us a follow. And guys, listen, this guy may be falling. The Memphis Grizzlies did not play well last night, but we're here to lift your spirits. Go watch something great on TV. Get some sunshine. It's a beautiful day here in Memphis, Tennessee. And be a friend to somebody who needs a friend. We'll see y'all next time.